So for today's presentation, we have the wonderful Emily Richardson, who is the Assistant Manager of the South Australian Office and is part of the Collection Management and National Network Coordination. We also have Jeff Tulip, who is an Archival Officer in our South Australia office in Collection Management and also part of the National Network Coordination. So without further ado, I will hand over.
Thanks, Hannah. Now, Jeff and I are joining you today from Garnerland in South Australia on the Adelaide Plains. So what we're going to do now is, if technology is on my side, I'm going to share my computer screen and give you a live demonstration of PhotoSearch. So let me transfer across now. Okay, so this is the homepage of our website, and you can see here record search. I'm going to click on that, and this takes us into what is our catalogue, where all of our records are itemised and readily available for the public to have a look at. Now you'll notice along the top there are a group of different tabs. Today we're going to focus on PhotoSearch. But what I'll do first is take you up to the help here, because this is a very helpful help, which is a good thing. Now you'll notice there are lots of different sections down the left-hand side here. We're going to look at PhotoSearch today. If you're interested in any of these other searches, come in to Record Search, have a look, and you'll find a specific tab that talks about that particular search function. The two I'm going to highlight on the help today are the search tips, because this has a very thorough description of the different types of search you can use, the different search types, keywords. Here that I'll highlight for you today are all words and any words, because we will be looking at that with PhotoSearch. And then it looks at terminology and punctuation and different wildcards, and a bit about how we store our information in terms of agencies, series, and items. Now today I'm going to be using the all words search option and any words, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now the Photo Search tab here gives you a good basic overview of the types of things that you can search on, and it tells you that the number of display items is 20,000. Now of course we all love to wade through 20,000 photographs at a time, not. So we're going to show you how to refine your search to get it down to a bit closer to what you're looking for. Browse by subject doesn't exist anymore. That is a little bit out of date, but you can do a keyword search, which we'll have a look at in a moment. You can also purchase copies of high resolution copies of images, and this will walk you through how to do that. And if you didn't know, our catalogue is connected to the National Library of Australia database. And if you do a search in there through Trove, our photographs that you'll be able to see through PhotoSearch as well will appear. So let's flip over to PhotoSearch tab now, and this is where the fun begins. This is a really basic search. It's a nice, easy way to look at pictures within the collection, and you've got several options. You've got your keywords here, and what I'm going to do today is look for things about the Woomera rocket range. And you'll notice here it says all words. Now what it's going to do is look for Woomera and rocket and range. So anything that has that in the description of the title will appear in the search results. So over here, this is where I'm talking about all words or any words. Phrases, series and control symbols are also part of what we use in our cataloguing. I'll explain that in a moment. And item IDs. I'm going to do a search for the Woomera rocket range, all those words, and press search. And it brings up 68 results. Now my internet's a little bit slow today, so the photos will be a little slow coming up. But you can see slowly but surely they're coming here. Now we've got some basic backwards and forwards type functions here. This will take me to the beginning of the results. This will take me to the end, and this will take me one page at a time, left and right. And you can see here I'm displaying 20 images at a time. So I'm now a 21 to 40. If I click on that again, it'll take me through 20 at a time. I do have the option though of selecting and doing 50 at a time. I won't do that because it'll sit there and repaginate again. Now, there's also options to look at thumbnails, a display grid like we're looking at here, which is nice, but it doesn't tell you a lot about the images. So I quite like this here, which is a list display, and it shows you the image plus all the information about the photograph that you're looking at. And again, we can use the same functions of left and right looking through the different search results. But what you see here is I've got the picture. It tells me the title of the picture and the date range for that particular collection that it's held in. And then there's a series and control symbol and an item ID. If you're ever wanting to look at this information again, it's worth writing down your series and control symbol, or at least, if nothing else, your item ID. Because if you ever contact us and you give us an item ID, we'll know exactly what you're looking for. You can request a copy from here, which we were talking about earlier, a high resolution image. And you can use that for things like publishing books or different, might be research, might be part of a show and tell slideshow for your friends. If you are going to publish, you do need to get copyright permission for content from the archives. We've got a whole section about that in our website. Now, we've got here the Woomera rocket range. If I click on the picture, it shows me a bigger picture and the same information. And if I click on this, it doesn't do a lot. But what I can do is return here to the listings. So if you can see here, I can hop into the picture, go back to my search results with the return to listing. Now, if I want to refine this search a little bit, I can click on refine search, and it keeps sorting which criteria I've entered. To our search page. Yeah, now the internet is very slow now. It sees that we've got a, here we are, we're back at our search page, and what we can do is if I say searching for any words and click on search, it's going to bring up a different set of results. You can see it's got 8,546. Now what that's done is gone through every title and looked for anything that has Woomera or rocket or range. So you can see why we use that all word search, looking for Woomera and rocket and range within the title. Now, if I use the phrase search option when I get back there, it will only look for anything that has the phrase, all the words in a row, Woomera rocket range. Now, in true IT style, it's gone and slowed down again. So I think what we might do is leave it at that, and I'll take us back to our presentation. And I'll hand over to my colleague, Jeff. Sorry, I am having a technical issue here. I will be with you in a moment. You'll notice Jeff has got his special presenting hat on. It's covered in pictures from PhotoSearch, and it's quite a lovely hat. He's specially designed it today so he can be of his usual quirky, full of character style. So what we'll do, I'll now hand over to Jeff, and Jeff, you can take control.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. I'm online now. Good morning, everybody. I'm just missing my notes, Emily. They were here a minute ago. Emily's our IT expert, and yeah, take control. Yeah, I've done that. So here we go. Where are they? Where are they? Right. Okay. Here we go. Right. All right. We're good. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I've got a special hat for today. They're available nowhere. so don't ask about them. And also, before I even start, I say, please be careful what you ask for when you're doing a search, because as you'll see with this presentation, we'll get all sorts of results. Hopefully you'll get a bit of a laugh or find it slightly humorous. Not all the subjects are funny, but just it's a broad range of what we're looking on. So basically, what I'm saying to you now is hang on tight while we navigate the ebbs and flows of what is photo search. So let's hope this bumpy ride keeps you all on edge while being amazed at the range of over 290,000 images, which I'll show you today. I will be displaying images from our Australia-wide collection, not just from South Australia. I also want to show you the diverse range of photos in our collection. So there are over 45 million items in our total collection, including paper, photographs, audio-visual, sound recordings, maps, plans, posters, objects, and digital records. So this first slide, the search term I used was cartoon. The records are from the Royal National Agricultural Exhibition from 1954 from the GPO office in Brisbane. So as it says in the cartoon there, if you can see it, let's hope it's not all downhill from here today. And just a reminder that some of the images displayed today are of people who have died. Now, my second search relates to migrants. There are over 10,000 images on PhotoSearch. So this image is of displaced persons from Europe. The HMS Canimbla arrived at Melbourne with the first group of displaced persons in December 1947, from where they joined a train bound for the Bonangilla migrant camp. They travelled from Europe to Fremantle on the General Heintzelman and transshipped to Canimbla. If you're interested in looking at any of the images presented today, the quickest way would be to jot down the item ID number shown to the right of all the slides. So this example, the ID number is 752917. Migrant arrivals in Australia, Italian cane cutters at Cairns aboard the Aurelia. Down the gangway, the newcomers set foot for the first time on their new chosen land. Have a look at the head in the porthole to the left. He looks a bit apprehensive. It's a very small image, but yeah, he's not sure whether he wants to come out or not. I don't blame him. Now, migrants in employment in Australia, these photos were from the Department of Immigration. A lot of them were. So this is from a scientific Antarctic exhibition in 1960. And I've labelled it as an Antarctic staring competition. So the search term here was gymnasts. And this is the Dutch migrant Bernie de Roo of Sydney. And he represented Australia in the 1960 Olympic Games. Unfortunately, Bernie placed 110th out of 130 athletes. It's a bit sad, really. Anyway, here we have a young migrant girl from Lebanon. Her name is May Stour, and she's studying English. To me, that looks very painful. Here we have the Glenelg Migrant Hostel in 1952, a typical example of a converted standard strand steel arched rib hut to accommodate 400. That was a mouthful. When I see hundreds of wooden chairs designed to make you feel uncomfortable and make a noise, you eat your meal really quickly and leave. I have been in one of these hostels many years ago, and it is very loud. This is a nice one. So arriving in Australia from Vienna in 1939, Mr. L.J. Stern of 14 Hedgley Avenue, East Malvern, Victoria, has pioneered many branches of animated doll making in Australia. Formerly in the Austrian film industry, Mr. Stern knew little about doll making until he landed in Australia. Now employing 20 people, he makes dolls for Australia, India, the Middle East, and South Africa. Now, my question, who do you think was the model for the doll on the left? I think it's pretty obvious. Also, to the right of the photo, can you see the box of Maltese? I had never heard of them before today, so I have learned something. So this is still migrants in employment. Catering, Marcellina Pizza Bar in the heart of Adelaide. Antonio Parisi's pizza tossing is an attraction. So they're the words from the title. So whoever took this photo put this title alongside it. So we inherit the titles. We don't make them up. They come with the photos. And that's the case for all of these things. Unless there's no title, then we have to give it one. So this is still a migrant picture. So this is called Migrant in Their Homes. A Dutch family settles in 1961. So just what everyone needs when they first arrive in Australia. A good old, or should I say new, Simpson Pope washing machine, guaranteed for 5 years. It looks very much like my mum, but she had a washing machine just like that. She didn't buy in Australia. Right, 18-year-old Michelle Ribas from Millau in the south of France is a French migrant shown here as a finalist in the Teenage Charity Quest held in Melbourne in 1965. What is interesting about this photo is the description attached to it, as well as the details about where she is from and entering a charity quest. We also know she is modelling a tennis outfit and her father manufactures gloves. She migrated to Australia in 1949 and the family lived at 21 Cummings Grove in Malvern. We also know Michelle is a hairdresser and has a sister Annie, 17 years old, and a brother Elaine, 24, who is a commercial airline pilot. So item titles on PhotoSearch and Record Search often have brief titles. This is an example of an informative titling doing the research for you. So you see much more than just an image of somebody holding a tennis racket. You find out about the family at the same time. So it's a surprise what you get in the titles, really. So this search term is ships. Now, migrants travelling on board the Oriana, Fair Sky and the Castel Felice enjoy luxury cruise conditions with attention given to every amenity which can improve the comfort and entertainment of passengers. Now, I would dispute that, really. I came over on the Castel Felice and I wouldn't say that it was comfortable or entertaining that much as a 9-year-old anyway. So these two young migrants with paper hats depicting two of the Sitmar liners called themselves sister ships and won first prize. As mentioned, I was also travelling on the Castel Felice a few years later in 1967 and entered a fancy dress competition similar to this one. I was dressed as none other than Scott Tracy from the Thunderbirds, and my brother was a Neapolitan lover boy as he had olive skin. My mother made our costumes from crepe paper, bought on board the ship's bursar's office, I think it was. They were held together with dressmaker pins. Ouch. My sister went as a pirate, but she didn't need pins. And you guessed it, we did not win. Damn. So search term here was doctor. So when you put doctor in, what do you expect to find? So we've got a saw doctor hand filing a 6-foot saw at a timber mill in Western Australia near Manjinup in 1966. In the middle there, we've got a Dr. F. Mueller from an album of identification photographs of enemy aliens interned at Liverpool Camp in New South Wales during World War I in 1914. And the final image is of a flying doctor intending to an injured station hand on a property in Western New South Wales. The man's horse had fallen and rolled on him, and he appeared to have suffered some internal injuries. And that was in 1966. Smoking. We all know about smoking. Not vaping, but smoking. Bathurst East Rotary Club organised a No Smoke Week in March 1973 for the Australian Council on Smoking and Health. An estimated 1,000 people, or 1/3 of the city's 3,000 smokers, stopped smoking. The garage proprietor, Alan Peterson, with the giant cigarette which was doused with a bucket of water outside the Bathurst City Hall to signal the start of No Smoke Week. That was pretty good, I reckon. So this search term was just Fair Sky, a name of one of the Sitmar Line ships that came across to Australia with migrants in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So the biggest British family to migrate to Australia arrived in Sydney on the 9th of November 1960 on the liner Fair Sky. They are Mr. John Hampsey, his wife, Molly, and their 13 children from County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. The item title on PhotoSearch also lists all the children, which I've neglected to do today. So search term camera. We're talking about photo search. Where do photos come from? Cameras. So search term camera. As we were talking about photos, I thought I'd include some cameras as well. So TV cameras popped up during the search. The first image is of a Hector Crawford ballet production. Mr. Ian Crawford operates one of the television cameras on the set. The camera is on a mobile dolly, which is able to follow the action on the stage. 1956. My observation is that it's strange that he was allowed to smoke in the studio. The second image is of looks at a television studio camera in Mount Wellington in Hobart in 1959. And the third image is the first royal visit to Australia by Queen Elizabeth II and the Duke of Edinburgh in 1954. A camera mounted high on a stand in readiness for the Queen's arrival at a function. A lot of these photos are black and white, but occasionally we see a colour one. So don't hold your breath, they'll come eventually. Search term here is police. So the first one is Tracker Sid, head tracker at the Hart Range Police Station in Northern Territory, 1949. The second one is a road traffic patrolman of New South Wales Police Force in 1965. And the third one is a mounted policeman in 1968. This was a stage photo, not quite a selfie. I don't think they'd been invented yet. Another one for police. Police Traffic School for Children at Deepdene in Victoria, 1968. Some great product placement happening here, Dunlop and BP. They all seem pretty keen. It's a nice little car too. So a colour photo, yippee, search term police once again. So some of you may be familiar with the Police Rescue series. Well, this is the cast. And to refresh your memory, we've got Jeremy Callahan, Sonia Todd, Steve Bastoni, Tammy McIntosh, Gary Sweet, Frankie J. Holden, Ida Nico Demu, and John Clayton. So if you're a fan, we have photos of them in our collection. So the search term here was computers, and there was quite a few there, but I just picked a few interesting ones. So the first one is the Australian Guided Weapons Analog Computer from 1958, quite large. The second one is a car mobile telephone service, computer survey equipment in a vehicle, Queensland, 1988. It's so big it had to sit in the back seat. That's not really mobile, is it? And the last one, it is advertised as an access package, computer equipment from 5th of March, 1990. This computer could be faulty, I would say, because it just caught fire by the look of the smoke that's happening. Holdens, everyone loves a Holden, maybe, unless you're a Tesla fan. So the launch of the 500,000 Holden in 1958 from General Motors Holdens Limited at Fisherman's Bend in Victoria. The car was presented to the Royal Flying Doctor Service. The next one is the 10,000th Holden to be exported in 1958. The third one, the Managing Director for New Zealand, Mr. Ivan Chu, at the wheel of the 1 millionth Holden in 1962. And the last one is the new 6-cylinder Holden Premier station wagon released in August 1963. So there were many, many photos of Holdens, but I just picked a few out for you to have a look at. So I'm still going on that theme of showing the width and breadth and diversity of images that you can see on our system. So here we go, wine. There's lots of search terms. There are over 6,000 items come up when you put in wine. And luckily I didn't put a H in there because you might have got a few more like whining, don't know. As you can imagine, there were many photographs to choose from. Here are a few. Migrants employed in the wine industry in 1963. This one's sampling wine at All Saints Vineyard in Victoria. This is the German wine queen, Miss Heidrun Reim, in Australia in 1955. And this is the Wine Festival, Hunter Valley, 1973. So lots of images there. Now, the term here is Anzac, the search term. So this is the front cover of the With the Camera at Anzac photo album from 1919. The photos were taken by 3 soldiers, George Downes, Arthur James Cook, and H.J. Lowe, between July 1915 and December 1916. They were developed in December 1915. The album was copyrighted on 23rd of April 1919. To see the copyright records, you can have a look at item ID 734827. So this one is titled Dugout Life at Anzac Gully in 1919. It's not that clear, but you can see they're on the side of a hill. They've got sandbags there, and they've got trenches involved as well. And they mustn't be under fire at the moment because they're all out in the clear. This one is an image of Turkish prisoners at Lone Pine in 1919. Like they're bored, just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And this is a supply reserve and Indian mule transport on Anzac Beach. So there's quite a lot of containers being stacked there, supplies. This one's interesting. It's called Hellspit Cemetery. There are 385 Australians, 50 British, 21 New Zealanders, 3 from Ceylon, and 21 unknown soldiers buried at this site. The grave left of centre is of A.J.B. Shering. There are records on PhotoSearch relating to this soldier in our collection. So here are a few folios from Lieutenant Shering's personal dossier showing the date he died, the place he died, and how he died, but not the burial site is not recorded. The burial site is recorded as not known. If you can see just there in the middle, and then that's other stuff there saying that he was where he was died at Anzac Cove. So if you want to look at that item, it's 7883959, and you can look through the whole thing. But the image said he was buried at Hell's Spit, so if they could find Hell's Spit, they might be able to find his body, if they haven't already done so. Making jam tin bombs. So that where the image on the left is actually the soldiers making the bombs, and the image above that is from Google, just an exploded picture so you can see what they look like, how big they were. So they were quite industrious when they weren't under attack. And this is Lord Kitchener's farewell salute at Anzac on the 14th of November 1915. The photos from this album were controlled by the Patents Office, and there are 42 images on PhotoSearch. There are over 9,000 photographs in Series A 1861 if you want to see more. This one, our search term was troops. So the Volunteer Defence Corps in Sydney, we have a group of cyclists of a defending battalion moving to a new position to help stop a breakthrough by the attackers. Overhead, a plane swoops low in attack. This was part of a large-scale mock battle in which 1,000 troops of Volunteer Defence Corps took part. Looks a little bit like Dad's Army to me, and it is pretty clear that there are 2 photographs stuck together to create a sense of danger. Bit like using AI, isn't it, to manipulate a photo, but this is a stick and paste one. So here we go. Aircraft was the search term here. And this is the first one, is the loading of a Beaufort torpedo bomb in 1942. Imagine if they dropped it. Imagine. The second one is an outback family near Broken Hill, sighting a Royal Flying Doctor Service aircraft in 1948. I would say, are these people related to Murrumpa Kettle? Clearly, maybe not, I don't know. And the last one is 2 fighter pilots aboard Australia's first Royal Australian Navy aircraft, HMAS Sydney, in 1949. So these images are just what I've found. You can find images just the same, probably more interesting, but this is what I found interesting. So here we go. I want to show you this search was called St. Martin's Cathedral, because I'd heard about it. I saw it in the photograph album that we just looked at, and I thought, I wonder what else is on there. So I found this record. And it was taken by Major Richard Victor Morse in World War I at Ypres on the 18th of October 1917. So St. Martin was the patron saint of beggars. Now the next image shows what the cathedral looks like now. It was originally built in 1230 destroyed in 1553 and again in 1656. In 1801, it was resurrected and stood there until World War I. It was heavily damaged during World War I. Subsequently, during 1922 to 1933, the ruin was cleared and the church was entirely rebuilt following the original plans, although the tower was built with a higher spire than the original one. Now, I don't want to brag or big note myself, but I was there 3 weeks ago on holiday and I went and visited the church, and it is huge. And the way they built it, you wouldn't know that it was only 100 years old. It looks a lot older. So they did a great job rebuilding that church and the city itself. So the search term here I put in was inventions. So the top left-hand corner, we've got a Sydney upholsterer, Frank Marek. He's formerly from Czechoslovakia. He has just invented the 100,000 combination lock and key, watched by his dog, and this is 1962. The second image on the right is of a young woman with a hand-operated mixer and beater in 1954. And the third one is a driverless radio-operated tractor, believed to be the first in the world. Was this first successfully demonstrated in Sydney in New South Wales in 1957. Funny how they sort of have not radio controlled ones, but they have ones that have like cruise control, like they do in the cars these days. Got a friend in Jamestown who sits in there playing games while he's doing his work. Okay, so we've got electric van manufactured by Elroy Engineering and a phase 2 electric vehicle, the yellow one, both 1980. So that's 44 years ago we had electric vehicles. And then the image down the bottom is Mr. John Brookman connects his parking meter electric car recharger to an Enfield 8000 car in Sydney in 1977. So five of these cars were imported into Australia for evaluation and trials in 1974. The Enfield car had a top speed of 77 kilometres per hour and a range of 90 kilometres. That was nearly 50 years ago. The electric car industry has certainly exploded, no lithium pun intended, in the last 5 years. And here we have the search term solar. So a plastic solar roof tile used in the solar house that was developed by the University of Queensland in 1961. So, we've all got, a lot of us have solar now and we're thinking, oh, this is great, great new invention, but some of these things have been around a fair while and they just didn't progress so quickly. So back in 61, they had solar panels there. And this is a scale model of the 3/8 full size of the solar air-conditioned house that they built up in Queensland using those solar panels. So we've got images as well as maps and plans to complement the photos that we show you today. This is the 1993 Solar Car Challenge in the Northern Territory. There were lots and lots of images, but I just displayed two that were slightly humorous. You don't see cars like that these days, although Elon Musk might develop something with a bit of a cat face, who knows? This search term here was robots. Now the robots are the two at the front, not the two at the back. Sorry, Emily, you chuckled then. So robots incorporating telephones in the workshops in Queensland in 1985. So I'm not sure what else the robot does except to be a telephone on wheels. So it just stands there and it's got a telephone and you just, I don't know what else it does. So it might be an early mobile phone because they were used from 1981. So I'm not sure about that. But the one on the left has got antennas, so maybe it's got long range or something. But these two guys are pretty pleased with their efforts. The one on the right looks a little bit like the robot from Lost in Space. Do you remember that show? Maybe. Maybe it's not so fat. It hasn't put on weight. Well, the interesting hat was falling off. Right. Charles Todd. So Charles Todd was an astronomer and engineer. He worked for the government erecting telegraph lines and observing the stars and the weather. Todd set up the first telegraph line in South Australia from Adelaide to Port Adelaide. He extended the telegraph network to all major towns and linked it with Victoria's system. His greatest achievement was to build the overland telegraph line across the centre of Australia. This line linked up with telegraph cable that came under the sea from Asia. When this was complete, Australia was in touch by telegraph with London, and he is the gentleman in the middle, basically with the big black boots on. We actually have in here in Adelaide, in our Mortlock Library, we have a clock that he brought over from London to Adelaide, and it hasn't missed a beat since it's been wound up. They wind it every other day. So, search term polo. So be careful what you ask for, as I mentioned before. Water sports, a goalkeeper in a game of water polo in 1945. This next one to the right there, the classics in wool coordinates, a camel wrap coat over a cream polo neck wool pullover, also a wool skirt suit cut on the cross and pleated skirt and blazer, 1965. So that's a big title, and it's got some technical terms in there if you're a dressmaker, but that's what it was. So that's how they described it. So, and the last one is the Duke of Edinburgh playing polo at Flowerfield in the Yarra Valley in Victoria in 1967. So polo can get you a few different images, as Doctor did earlier. So the Snowy Mountains, love the Snowy Mountains, been there many times. So there are over 5,500 images in this search. So here are just a few. So the construction of the Snowy Mountains hydroelectric scheme, and this is a woman with building plans in 1951. The next one is a snow cab in the Snowy Mountains in 1957. And some pipes, 14-foot diameter steel pipes in 1965. Now the image with the two people in it is Fred Moser, an Austrian-born migrant who settled with his wife Diana in the Perisher Valley, one of the rapidly growing ski resorts in the Snowy Mountains area of New South Wales. Diana and Fred met in the valley when they came to work as waitress on the working holiday trip. They later managed the Parramatta Ski Lodge. They would be crying in their ski boots with the lack of snow the last few seasons, I've got to say. And that's a picture of the ski lodge that they managed to the right there. Cricket. Who doesn't love cricket? Don't all yell at once. It's okay. Some people like cricket. So this is cricket captains Charlie Russell and Max Southwell tossing a coin for a cricket final at Acton Sports Ground in Canberra in 1926. And the long and short of it is that I only put it on there because he was so tall and the other guy wasn't. Here's another cricket one. So 1956 Olympic Games, Melbourne. US Vice President Richard Nixon holding a cricket bat at Melbourne Cricket Ground on the 19th of October, 1956. Now, clearly, Richard doesn't play cricket. Look at the way he's holding that bat. Not good, not good. Australian women's cricket team to visit the UK in 1951. Not sure who this is, bowling, but she should be on the list that's displayed there. So from my research, Betty Wilson was a right arm off-break bowler. Norma Whiteman was a pace bowler. Alma Voigt was a right-arm fast bowler. So she could be one of those three people because she's bowling, clearly. Onward. Cricket, more audience participation time. This might be a little bit awkward, but who do you reckon that is? I mean, I'm not going to, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Don't answer because it'll take too long. So clearly that's Bob Simpson, right? You all got it right. Well done. This one, he's passed lately. That's Richie Benaud, great commentator and cricketer. My favourite cricketer of all time, Doug Walters. Not everybody's favourite, Bill Lawry. He was an interesting commentator. Good old Stumpy Marsh, Rod Marsh. And finally, good old Dennis Lilly. So they're images that are in our collection, so why not display them? Some more interesting things. This search term was entertainment, and we all love to be entertained, don't we? So the first one is the film set for the Eureka Stockade in 1948. The film took 6 months to make. There was so much rain in the first 5 weeks of the schedule that they could only shoot for 5 days. Roads turned into quagmires, the miners' tent city was twice blown to the ground, and Chips Rafferty broke 2 ribs in the fight scenes, then burned his hands in a fire rescue. Poor old Chips. The next one is Australian tennis players Yvonne Goolagong and Leslie Hunt in a 1970 Expo film. So they're just being models with their outfits and their tennis rackets. And the last one is Lionel Rose playing guitar and singing his song in 1970. When not boxing, Lionel embarked on a modest singing career in Australia. Songs include I Thank You, Please Remember Me, and Had to Leave Her. His songs really did pack a punch. Well, we're on the next slide. Lighthouse, Neptune Island. This is a new lighthouse being built. You see the scaffolding there? The next one is a trademark number 1304, the depiction of a lighthouse and the words lighthouse and flash test. Please don't ask me what flash test is and tell me that a 4-year-old didn't draw that. And the next one is Neptune Island lighthouse keeper's wife leaving the dock for a boat trip to Cape York for a trip to the mainland in 1963. So not quite an elevator, but still she got down to the boat. Oh, look at that piece of paper all crumpled up. Now, how many of you remember Ernie the milkman who drove the fastest milk cart in the West? That was in 1971. These images were not from PhotoSearch, just to make that clear. But what I wanted to show you is that we have our own version of Ernie from Western Australia. And he was Ernie Wright. It seems Ernie is everyone's friend, a very personalised mail delivery service indeed. The second girl looks on like she's in line for some of Ernie too. If only she could unlock the grip they have on each other. There were many images of postmen, but none quite like this. What a rascal. Roy Reen, famous entertainer. So he was born Henry van der Sloy in 1891 to 1954, and he was an Australian comedian and vaudevillian, born in Adelaide as the bawdy character of Mo Makaki. Reen was one of the most well-known and successful Australian comedians of the early 20th century and the local answer to Charlie Chaplin. There is a statue of him in Heine Street opposite the McDonald's store on the corner. Arnie Jack, who wouldn't do that? I put Arnie Jack in many times over the years. So here we go, Canberra Day 1974 with Thin Arthur, that's Rory O'Donoghue, Auntie Jack, Graham Bond, and Kid Eager, Gary McDonald. I used to love that show. Perhaps I'm showing my age. Fashion, we all love a bit of fashion. So this is the Expo 1974, a man and a woman in a garden scene. They've got a matching blouse and tie. How nice. Then we've got this one. The 70s were an interesting time, weren't they? Churlin is a new fashion idea. It's not a fabric, it's a fashion idea described as a simple hemmed length of patterned cotton fabric. The trick is the way it is draped. Now, all you have to do is walk with these items and keep the fabric draped. I think they're easy to do when you're standing up, but not when you're walking. But that's fashion people for you. Holiday. Migrants' holidays, perhaps. A migrant family national address for a holiday outing in 1956. Not quite the Von Trapp family. There's one member short. Second one, people packing their car for a summer holiday in 1964. And that little boy with the hose, please don't put it into the car. It looks like there's no one playing with a petrol cap. So yeah, we wouldn't want water in your car. And the last two are Queensland holidaymakers in hired beach buggy at a beach on the Gold Coast in 1967. And that's me in one of those dodgy mini mokes in 2004. They were terrible. I had to take it back. Cartoon. Here's another card. The caption reads, "There you are, sir. Convinced now that it'll hold 2 suits?" Of course it can hold 2 suits. A nuclear atomic blast during the Operation Buffalo nuclear tests in Maryland in South Australia in 1956. And another nuclear one, demonstrations in Victoria, anti-nuclear rally in Melbourne in 1984. And cake. Who doesn't do the search term cake? That goes along with chocolate and beer and all those other searches. So mining uranium. Storage of yellow cake, Ranger uranium mine in the Northern Territory. Wearing a tank top and shorts must be part of the protective clothing issued to staff. Clearly, that's what they needed to wear there. Cake. Oh, food displays. Fruit cake, the Australian Trade Commission. That reminds me, I must go to the bakery on the way home tonight. Getting close to the end now. I hope I'm not taking too much time, everyone. Doing good. Okay, search term was housing. Almost 6,000 items on PhotoSearch all over Australia. So I picked a couple, a modern Alpine home and the Rose and Crown in Elizabeth, South Australia, for the locals here in Adelaide. Another cartoon well. Well, so much for the sunken living room. Where's the laughs? Come on, send the laughs. No, well, maybe that wasn't so. Thank you. And the next one, and this will be the children's room. We've all seen that before. Is that you, Emily? my one and only supporter. Oh, there was a couple. That's good. So here we go. Finally, the last search term is called posters. This poster is dated 1985, but looks more like the 1950s. It is a promotion to sponsor a settler from Britain. We have many posters in our collection on many different topics. Here's one. Join the Navy for a grand career. And my comment, they're smiling now. Here's a good one. So here we have a poster from the Slob advertising campaign to reduce drink drivers in 1974. It states, a slob is a man who drinks 6 middies or more in an hour and then attempts to drive. Clearly, there are no women who drank too much. It goes on to say, you'll see the slobs look for their car keys and attempt to drive themselves and their chicks home. If your friend is a slob, help him. Don't let him drive. Even if he takes all the cash you have between you, get him a cab. And this was when the limit was 0.08. So they really had a problem back then. And I don't think it's changed too much, despite we trying to do our best. Another one here, act nonchalant. Of course you would if you run over a policeman. So here we have, here we have a poster advertising a Rolling Stones concert in Australia, also known as the Pacific Tour. At one stage, Australian immigration had banned an unnamed member of the Stones due to previous drug convictions. This ban was later lifted and the tour went ahead. They were in Adelaide at Memorial Drive on the 20th and 21st of February 1973. The poster reads, to Mr. Grasby, thanks for letting us in. Michael Philip Jagger. The colour images of the poster used to promote the concert, and the smaller photo is, of course, Mr. Al Grasby, the minister at the time. So, to conclude this poster's presentation, I'd like to just let you know that some of the contributors to these PhotoSearch, the government departments that we found these images from. So the Department of Immigration, the General Post Office, Department of Housing Construction, Defence, Australian National Railways, CSIRO, and the Patents Office, and others. So there are over 700 series of photograph records registered on Record Search, and not all of them are digitised, but those that are appear on PhotoSearch. So you too can do exactly what I've done today. Search PhotoSearch, make a PowerPoint presentation, and entertain the whole family and your friends. You might not choose the records that I did, but there are some 290,000 to choose from. So as mentioned earlier, some of the photos are very well described on PhotoSearch and others are not. So when you start looking on PhotoSearch, you may well recognize someone or something that does not appear in the title. It's full of surprises. So if you are interested, today I showed over 100 images from PhotoSearch. Others were from Record Search and from Google. I'm sure you all will now want to race home, look up images on PhotoSearch and start that presentation. And thank you for joining me today. And that is that. And once more, I say to you, be careful what you ask for, because you might end up with a whole load of images just like I did.